Good morning.
Good morning.
Beautiful brokenness. You didn't think that was going to come out of my mouth, did you? And yet, that's exactly what I said. Good morning, beautiful brokenness. Yeah, I know, right? Those two words don't seem like they go together, and yet they do. You know, often in our rush to become healed, healthy, and whole, we want to deny our brokenness. We want to rush through it, push through it, get over it, and get on with it, right? And yet, one of the great healing juxtapositions is that oftentimes we must be broken in order to be healed. So breathe into that. Broken to be healed. And our ceiling is not going to come in on us, I promise. As we end our summer series on living whole, healed, and healthy, we are going to learn today to embrace our brokenness. And not only embrace our brokenness, but discover that it is the path to salvation. Ooh, there's another word. Just breathe. Right? You know, I had a discussion with Cindy's sister Sue on Friday, and I became really aware that in Unity, we don't talk a lot about heaven, hell, or salvation. Now, I believe that's because by the time most of us get here, we've like had it up to here with the plan of salvation. We've heard all of it we want to hear, we're done with that, and that's kind of how we find our way here. And yet, I want you to know that Unity teaches all three. Unity teaches what heaven is, teaches what hell is, and we too have a plan of salvation. Ooh. Take a breath. So I want you to open yourself. The thing that I love most about Unity is that when we talk about those things, it is from a heart-centered place. A place of love versus a place of fear. And so this morning, I want you to breathe into that love. I want you to hold on to your chairs. And I want you to get ready as we sail into salvation and discover that we are healed, healthy, and whole. I think that probably one of our biggest fears is that someone will discover that we're broken. One of my favorite musicians, Stowe Good, two women, wrote a beautiful song called Beautiful Brokenness. And they kind of express that fear in their very first verse. All my life, I've tried to hide the cracks within my soul. God forbid that you should see what no one else should know. We have somehow forgotten that life itself is broken. Life is a series of delights and sorrows, celebrations, goodbyes, death, loss. That life itself is not ever perfect. And so we get this idea that somehow we have to hurry up and we have to patch up the brokenness and we have to hide it from other people so that they can't see it. And that comes at a great consequence. So I want you to know that I am not immune to the pretending I am perfect virus. Have any doubts about that? I'm sure Jane my wife can fill you in. I'm not immune to it. And as I was preparing this lesson, I was thinking about when my stepfather died. When my stepfather died, I became really busy helping my mother through the business of death. And I somehow got this idea in my head that actually I think I was born with, that I had to be strong. I had to be, stoic, and I had to take care of everything. And so as I helped her through her grieving process, what my family saw was not that I was strong. What my family saw was that somehow I was not as impacted by my dad's death the way they were. My family's experience was that they were in this deep grief and this deep sorrow. But I apparently was just fine. Until one day, the emotions and grief inside of me rose up and erupted. And I found myself outside my childhood home, crumpled in a pile on the pavement, sobbing uncontrollably and feeling as though I was completely coming apart. Stowe Good go on to say, day by day, it wore me down, this aching pain inside. It doesn't serve us to pretend that we're not broken. In fact, what I discovered is that when I hide my brokenness, when I try to patch it up and pretend that it's not there, I isolate myself from other people. I become disconnected from those around me. Now, it's very interesting that I have kind of made this commitment in my ministry, probably from day one, that I would allow people to see my cracks. What kind of minister would I be if I was perfect? If I was the perfect minister, how on earth would you ever relate to me? And besides that, I hear there are nosebleeds up on that pedestal. And it's a long way down. So I try to show you my cracks. And a beautiful thing happens when we allow others to see our brokenness. I can come to church and I can tell you about how I was in such a hurry to get to my destination that I wasn't present to the moment and broke my toe as a result. And you guys laugh, but I know that you're not laughing at me, you're laughing with me. Because you remember the last time you weren't aware of what was going on and something disastrous happened. It is a way that we connect with one another when we honor and embrace our own brokenness. Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, "We all have a tendency to run away from suffering. But the fact is that without suffering, there is no way to cultivate understanding and compassion. Without understanding and compassion, there can be no happiness." So the brokenness that we experience, the brokenness that we are, is a gift. Breathe into that. It's a gift. Because it is through that we become compassionate. It is through that we develop understanding. Empathy. Empathy is the action of understanding another person's feelings, thoughts, and experiences. So it is only because I have experienced pain that I can understand your pain. Right? And it is only through my own suffering. It's only through my own suffering that when I see someone else in their brokenness, I can bless them. I can offer them grace because I can remember the times I have shown up way less than perfect. When we embrace our brokenness, we're able to connect to one another. But that's not the only gift that comes with our brokenness. The other gift is salvation. Deep breath. Salvation. Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines salvation as deliverance from danger or difficulty. Deliverance from danger or difficulty. Yesterday we were here remembering our dear friend Robert Schuster. And I had, throughout this week, had an opportunity to speak with his sister a couple of times and to speak with his brother. And what I discovered was how he found unity. So he was having a dark night of the soul. He was struggling, and a friend of his in Sarasota, Florida, suggested that he go to Unity. And when he arrived at Unity, he heard words that gave him hope. He heard words that gave him strength to move a little bit farther. I know from my experience of Robert and the times that I spoke to him, that every time he experienced a dark night of the soul, from that point forward, the first thing he would do is start showing up for Susan's classes. He would go to Unity classes when he was struggling. He would make sure he was coming to church. He would make sure he was talking to us. He would pray. He would turn to God. The thing about being broken that I know is it is often our brokenness that drives us literally to our knees. That it is